Have you ever wondered what it feels like to discover a secret that could change your life forever? Tu Diem was stunned when she realized that Tuan had quietly purchased the land next to their farm. At first, anger and confusion overwhelmed her. Why would he hide such a thing? But then, Tuan revealed his heartfelt plan: a cozy home and a blooming garden created just for their future together. What happens when love and surprise collide in the most unexpected way? Stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories like this one. The morning sun spilled its golden light over the rolling fields surrounding the farm, casting long, gentle shadows across the fertile land. Tu Diem stepped outside, her fingers brushing against the dewy grass as she walked toward the edge of the property, a place she had always loved for its quiet solitude and panoramic view of the neighboring lands. But today, the landscape felt different, uneasy, almost unfamiliar. Her eyes scanned the plot of land next to their farm, and a sinking feeling settled in her chest. There were signs everywhere: freshly turned soil, newly planted markers, and official documents tucked discreetly under a small tree, indicating that the land had recently changed hands. At first, she refused to believe it, thinking perhaps she had misunderstood, but the evidence was undeniable. Her heart thumped in her chest, a mix of confusion, hurt, and anger colliding all at once. She could feel a sudden tension tighten in her shoulders, as if the very earth beneath her feet mirrored the turmoil within. "Why didn't Tuan tell me?" she whispered to herself, the words almost lost in the gentle rustle of leaves. "Why would he keep this from me?" The questions tumbled over one another, urgent and insistent, echoing the unspoken fear that maybe, just maybe, he didn't trust her, or worse, didn't want her involved. She replayed the last few days in her mind, the casual remarks he had made, the vague smiles, and the hushed phone calls he had taken outside. At the time, she had brushed them off, thinking they were insignificant, harmless distractions from his usual meticulous attention to her. Now, in this quiet moment, those small, seemingly innocuous behaviors seemed to swell with hidden meaning, like ripples across the surface of still water, revealing depths she hadn't noticed before. Her pulse quickened, a mixture of apprehension and sorrow, making it hard to breathe. She remembered the countless afternoons spent together on the farm, laughing over spilled milk, planting seeds, and imagining futures filled with warmth and love. How could something so secretive exist right next to the life they had been nurturing together, and yet she had known nothing? Her mind waged a silent war between reason and emotion. She wanted to scold him, to demand explanations, to confront the betrayal she felt in every fiber of her being. But another part of her hesitated. A tiny voice inside whispered that perhaps there was more to this than she could see, that maybe Tuan's reasons were not selfish, not deceitful, but hidden for a purpose she could not yet understand. Still, the sting of being kept in the dark cut sharply, twisting her thoughts and making her vision blur with the beginnings of tears she thought to hold back. She sank onto a nearby rock, staring across the border where the neighboring land stretched wide and untamed, imagining what it would mean to lose even the smallest sense of shared dreams with him. The sun climbed higher, and with every passing moment, the wind carried both the scent of freshly turned earth and the sharp tang of her uncertainty. A storm brewed inside her, silent and furious, as she grappled with feelings of abandonment, confusion, and disbelief. The very foundation of trust she had built with Tuan seemed fragile in that instant, like a delicate glass sculpture on the verge of shattering. She wrapped her arms around herself, seeking comfort that felt as distant as the horizon before her, wishing she could understand his silence and hoping, desperately, that the explanation, when it came, would be worth this turbulent storm of emotion. Diem finally turned back toward the farmhouse, her steps hesitant, uncertain, still carrying the weight of the anger and confusion that had clung to her all morning. Tuan was waiting on the porch, his posture relaxed yet alert, as if he had anticipated her arrival and the storm of emotions she carried like a silent shadow. When he saw her, his eyes softened, a warmth that had always been her anchor in times of doubt, reaching out across the distance between them. "Diem," he said gently, his voice carrying the kind of calm assurance that seemed almost tangible. "I know you're upset, and I understand why." He took a small step closer, and she could feel the sincerity radiating from him, mingling with the early morning breeze. For a moment, she didn't speak, letting herself absorb the sound of his voice, the familiar cadence that had always been a source of comfort and strength. Then, slowly, she found herself whispering the question that had been burning inside her since she first saw the land. "Why didn't you tell me?" Tuan reached for her hand, his fingers warm and steady as they wrapped around hers. "I wanted it to be a surprise," he admitted, his eyes never leaving hers. "Not to deceive you, not to exclude you, but because I dreamed of a place that would belong to us, a place where we could build our future without compromise. I wanted to see the look on your face when you realized that this land, this little piece of the world, is ours together." His words, soft and earnest, began to unravel the tight knot of hurt in her chest. She felt her breath catch as a new wave of emotion wash over her. Astonishment, relief, and a tender, almost fragile happiness. He led her closer to the edge of the newly acquired land, and as they walked, he painted a picture with his words. A small house with a cozy porch where they could sip tea in the mornings, a garden blooming with flowers and vegetables, a quiet corner just for them to sit under the stars and dream. Every detail was described with such love, such care, that Diem could almost see it before her eyes, the way the sunlight would touch the windows, the gentle sway of flowers in the breeze, the laughter they would share as they worked side by side. She felt the anger and suspicion of the morning dissolve, replaced by a warmth that settled deep into her heart. Tears began to gather in her eyes, and before she could stop them, they spilled over, glistening in the morning light. Tuan brushed them away gently, his thumb tracing the curve of her cheek as he whispered, "I wanted to give you something that would remind you every day how much I love you. This land, this home, it's not just soil and wood. It's our story, our future, our dreams taking root." Diem's heart ached in the most beautiful way, a mixture of gratitude, love, and awe at the quiet thoughtfulness of his gesture. She realized that all along, the secret had not been about hiding from her, but about creating a gift so intimate, so personal, that it could only be revealed in the fullness of the moment. She let herself melt into his arms, allowing the tears and the emotion to flow freely, feeling the pulse of his love in every heartbeat, knowing that this moment, their shared laughter, their whispered dreams, the soft hum of the morning breeze, was the beginning of a chapter that would define the rest of their lives. For the first time that day, Diem smiled through her tears, a radiant, heart-stirring smile that spoke of forgiveness, understanding, and the unspoken promise that whatever storms might come, their love would always find a way to bloom. Hand in hand, Tu Diem and Tuan wandered across the freshly purchased land, their footsteps soft against the tender grass that had yet to be fully tamed. The morning sun bathed everything in a golden glow, highlighting every curve of the small hills and the delicate shadows cast by young saplings that Tuan had already marked for planting. He spoke animatedly about his plans, each word painting a vivid picture of the life he envisioned for them. "Here," he said, pointing to a gentle slope, "we'll plant a row of cherry blossoms. They'll bloom every spring, and we can sit beneath them, watching the petals dance in the wind." Tu Diem's heart swelled at the image, and she could almost hear the soft rustle of petals and the gentle laughter they would share in that quiet sanctuary. He led her to a corner near the far edge of the property, where a small stream trickled lazily through the earth. "This will be our little retreat," he explained, "a place where we can read, dream, or simply sit in silence together. Just you and me, away from the world." She looked at him, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears, and realized how deeply he had thought about every detail, not for show or grandeur, but to nurture a space of love, comfort, and shared dreams. As they walked further, Tuan described the house he imagined, a modest yet charming structure, with large windows to welcome the sunlight and a porch where they could sip tea in the mornings. "I want it to feel like a hug," he said softly, "a place that wraps us in warmth every time we step inside." Tuziem's hand tightened around his, her own mind filling with visions of the future. Evenings spent in quiet conversation, the scent of fresh flowers and baked bread wafting through the air, laughter echoing through the rooms as they celebrated both ordinary and extraordinary days. Her chest swelled with an emotion so powerful it left her breathless, a combination of awe, love, and a deep sense of belonging that words could scarcely capture. In that moment, all the secrecy and uncertainty that had shadowed the morning seemed trivial, replaced by a profound understanding of Tuan's intentions. He had not hidden anything out of deceit, but had chosen a moment of revelation that would magnify the joy and surprise of their shared dreams coming to life. Finally, they reached the highest point on the property, where the land stretched wide, offering a panoramic view of the surrounding countryside. Tuan pulled Tu Diem close, wrapping her in an embrace that spoke volumes of unspoken promises. "This is the beginning of everything," he murmured into her hair, his words a gentle pledge. "A home, a garden, a life for us. Whatever comes, we'll face it together, here, in our place of peace and love." Tu Diem rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, and felt a quiet certainty settle within her. The land beneath them was more than soil and grass. It was a canvas for their shared memories, a stage for laughter, love, and tender moments yet to come. She could already imagine planting the first seeds together, nurturing them as their love grew, and watching the house slowly take shape, becoming a sanctuary that reflected their hearts. The gentle breeze carried the fragrance of wildflowers, mingling with the scent of the earth and the warmth of the sun, and in that perfect harmony, Tu Diem and Tuan found a rare, unspoken joy, a sense that every step, every secret, every surprise had led them to this exact moment. Standing there, surrounded by the quiet beauty of the land and the boundless possibilities of the future, they smiled at one another, a shared understanding lighting their eyes. This was not just a piece of land, but a testament to their love, a promise that no matter what life brought, they would cultivate it together, heart by heart, hand in hand.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Lý Tử Diễm Review. Vậy là tập phim của chúng ta ngày hôm nay đã kết thúc tại đây. Trong tập phim ngày hôm nay thì Toàn và Diễm đã có một ngày bình yên, hạnh phúc bên nhau tại trang trại của Diễm. Và điều đặc biệt hơn là Toàn đã mua tặng Diễm mảnh đất ngay bên cạnh trang trại để cô có thể mở rộng trang trại của mình và cũng là để xây thêm một căn nhà nhỏ tương lai cho gia đình nhỏ của anh. Cuộc sống của Toàn và Diễm ngày hôm nay trôi qua rất là bình yên và hạnh phúc. Liệu rằng cuộc sống của họ có được mãi bình yên như thế hay không? Còn sóng gió nào đang chờ họ phía trước hay không? Tất cả sẽ được hé lộ vào tập tiếp theo, sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh Lý Tử Diễm Review. Các bạn hãy bấm vào nút đăng ký kênh để nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các tập phim sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại. Bye bye!